Hello, welcome to the Hampton Law Firm. I'm Jeff Hampton with the Hampton Law Firm, and today's video is about child endangerment. What must be proven? What can the state of Texas do if they are able to prove that against you? And what can you do to defend your child endangerment or child abandonment charges? Now, if you like what you hear today, I encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more great content just like this. And by the way, today we're going to cover the ins and outs of child endangerment and child abandonment charges. But at the end of this video, if you wait around to the end of this video, I'm going to give you an opportunity to download a free ebook, What to Do If You Have Been Charged with a Crime in Texas. Okay, let's jump right in. Let's take a look at things. If you or a loved one have been arrested for a child endangerment charge in Texas, it's important to understand what the law requires to be proven and what are some of the defenses that you can take when you're facing this particular type of charge. Now, we need to start by breaking down Texas law related to this particular topic. We break it down into two categories. One is child endangerment, and the second one is child abandonment. Two different issues. Usually these charges are filed as felony charges, so they're very serious. It's important to get out in front of these and start doing some work on the cases immediately. Okay, the first one we're going to talk about is child endangerment. Now, we all know the law generally requires parents and legal guardians. They must provide reasonable care for their children, and they must make sure and prevent them from being in situations that would create an unreasonable risk to their safety and their well-being. That's the basic standard that all parents and legal guardians are required to live up to, okay? Now, here's the thing. If a police officer believes that you in any way placed a child in harm's way, and if that child is 15 years of age or younger, there's a good chance they may charge you with child endangerment. Now, the legal standard that is used on child endangerment is basically this. What would a reasonable person, a reasonable parent, a reasonable guardian do according to their child's age and their ability? What would they do in that situation based upon those circumstances? That's the standard that we're talking about here whenever we're looking at it. People say, well, how do you know what I did was endangering a child or abandoning a child? We use that standard, the reasonable person standard. I'm going to give you some common examples. The most common examples of child endangerment and child abandonment, one is you'll see they leave a child, maybe someone leaves a child unattended in a vehicle for a period of time. We hear it every year. It's a tragedy. Some child is left in a car. Parents forget they're even back there. Temperature gets up to 130 degrees in the car. The child dies or suffers some serious traumatic brain injury as a result of that. That's one example. Another one is if you do not secure your weapons and a child gains access to that weapon and ends up being injured as a result of that. That's another example. I'm going to give you a couple of other. What I'm about to read to you right now are Texas juries had made decisions that this is reasonable. Or they've made decisions that this is child endangerment or child abandonment. So these are some examples of where the Texas juries have said, you are wrong to do this. Let me give you a few examples. Not requiring a child to wear a seatbelt in a vehicle, reckless driving with a child as a passenger, leaving a child, and here's one, and we'll come back to this one, leaving a child in a vehicle longer than 5 minutes if the child is younger than 7 years old and if no one aged 14 years of age or older was present, receiving a DWI with a child as a passenger in the vehicle, also placing a child in any form of imminent danger. In other words, allowing a child to play near a bonfire or to ask a child to climb something very high knowing there was no way that the child would be able to grab a hold of something to protect themselves. Also, producing methamphetamine in the presence of a child or allowing a child to ingest drugs that the parents did not put up. One example of that is a parent had some gummies, THC gummies, and their 4-year-old got a hold of about 5 of them and ate them and was high as a kite. And as a result of that, the parents flipped out and that person ended up being arrested because their child got a hold of THC gummies. Okay, that's an example, all right? Now, let's talk about child abandonment. Child abandonment. Now, abandonment involves leaving a child unattended with either the intent to return to get them, or the more extreme example of it is abandoning a child with no intent to return to pick up the child at all, okay? Now, here's the hard part in determining whether or not a set of facts constitutes child endangerment or child abandonment. Here's the problem. What is reasonable? People have different ideas about what is reasonable. So now how do we determine what is reasonable? It is a fact issue that is determined by a jury. So if a person's case goes to a jury trial, that jury will determine whether or not the actions of the parent were reasonable or not, right? Now, let me give you some examples of how extreme this can be. Let's say you've got helicopter parents. Now, some of you have heard of that term. Maybe you've got some parents who literally just circle around their children and everything they do. They won't leave them alone for even 10 seconds, right? Well, to that particular type of parent, they will think leaving a child alone for any period of time may constitute child endangerment, okay? But then there's other types of jurors who may routinely allow their kids to go play unattended throughout the neighborhood, roam the streets, just come back when it turns dark, right? Kind of like the old days. And they may look at it and say, hold on a second, that's nowhere near child endangerment or child abandonment. So as you can see, what is reasonable is in the eye of the beholder. And if it goes to a jury trial, the jury must come back with a unanimous verdict on that fact issue, whether or not what has taken place is actually reasonable or not. Okay, is there gray area? Can you find gray area? Absolutely. Are there any instances where the police may be quick to pursue charges and maybe they shouldn't? Yes. And I'll give you one of the most common areas is where innocent people are charged with child abandonment. Let me give you an illustration of this. What if a mother, and this is a case that in the past that's been dealt with by us, what if a mother is out on a fall day? Okay, here's an example. She's out on a fall day and she is going to, she needs to return a library book. She pulls up to park, looks back and sees that her 4 kids are back there, all strapped in, happy. One of them's asleep. Everybody's just fine. She has 2 choices. She can either unstrap them all, wake up the little one, go inside to turn in a book that'll just take 30 seconds or a minute, or she can leave them in the car, roll down the window, leave a little bit of cool air, turn it off and lock the door and go inside. Well, in this particular instance, that's exactly what she did. She didn't want to unstrap them and wake them up. Instead, she locked the door, she cracked the windows, she ran in to return the library book, and as she's walking in to turn in the library book, here comes a police officer pulling around, sees the children sitting in the car by themselves, blocks off the back of the vehicle, starts calling in for backup, wanting to know where the parents are, right? And about the time he pulls in and he starts to call it in, out comes the mom. The mother comes out of the library. Nobody even saw her walk in. They weren't even paying attention. She's just going in to turn in a book. So now it comes her word against the police officer's word. She was planning to return to the car in literally mere moments, but a police officer is already there. Now, is this abandonment? Is this abandonment? Now, I'm interested in your thoughts. Leave comments down below on our YouTube channel here. Let me know what you think. Is that abandonment or not? Because I'm going to tell you, to the police officer, it was. To the police officer, they believed that it was abandonment. To the mother, however, she knew her intentions. She felt like she was never planning on leaving her children within a few seconds, and she was on her way back at that moment. So as you can see, sometimes police can draw conclusions about what it is that they see, and they can make a decision to arrest you for child abandonment for facts that you believe were innocent. Maybe it was something you didn't even realize that you could get in trouble for. That is why it is so important that your criminal lawyer work to gather evidence to present to the grand jury. In Texas, every felony must be presented to a grand jury, okay? So because these are usually felony cases, if you're the grand jury, if evidence is collected and presented to that grand jury, the grand jury could potentially lower the charge to a lesser charge, like a misdemeanor, or they may be able to no-bill the case, which is the equivalent of receiving a dismissal of your charge, and you would be eligible to get it expunged from your record. You see, there may be evidence that can be gathered and presented to that grand jury for them to see what really took place, so it's important that you don't sleep on your defense. All right, now, if you're facing a child endangerment charge or a child abandonment charge and you have questions and you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, don't hesitate to give us a call at the Hampton Law Firm at 817-877-5200. Thank you for joining us today. I promised you if you waited around to the end of this video, I'd give you a free resource, a free ebook, What to Do If You've Been Charged with a Crime in Texas. All you got to do is click the link right down here below. We'll send it to your email. And if you need anything, give us a call. Hope you have a good rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you on our next video. Take care.